Weapons too dangerous to use. When war created monsters, even armies feared. War has always pushed humanity to invent faster, stronger, and deadlier tools. But sometimes, innovation goes too far. There are weapons so destructive, so unpredictable, or so morally terrifying that even the armies who built them hesitated to use them. Some were tested and abandoned, some were deployed and quickly regretted, and others still exist today, locked away by international agreements, feared more than admired. Tonight, we're exploring real weapons from history that crossed a line. Weapons that made military commanders stop and ask a terrifying question. What happens when the weapon becomes more dangerous than the enemy? And before we continue, if you enjoy real historical stories like this, based on facts, rare details, and lesser-known military history, make sure to subscribe to the channel. New stories every week about warfare, survival, and the hidden realities behind history. Now let's begin. The nuclear weapon a soldier could carry. During the Cold War, fear ruled military strategy. The United States and the Soviet Union were racing to make nuclear weapons smaller, faster, and easier to deploy. The idea was simple. If nuclear weapons existed everywhere, war itself would become impossible. But one invention shocked even military planners. It was called the Davy Crockett, a nuclear weapon small enough to be operated by infantry. Imagine this, a small team of soldiers positioned near the front line, carrying what looked like a large recoilless rifle. Instead of firing a conventional shell, it launched a nuclear warhead, the smallest ever deployed by the United States. The explosion itself was relatively small by nuclear standards. The real danger was radiation. Anyone within hundreds of meters could receive a lethal dose within minutes. And here was the problem. The weapon's range was so limited that the soldiers firing it risked being exposed to the very radiation they unleashed. In other words, the weapon could kill its own operators. The concept sounded powerful on paper. In reality, it terrified commanders. A battlefield where nuclear weapons were used at close range meant chaos, contamination, and loss of control. By the early 1970s, the system was quietly retired. Not because it didn't work, but because it worked in a way nobody could safely control. When chemistry became a weapon. Long before nuclear weapons, another category of warfare created global fear: chemical weapons. During World War I, poison gas changed warfare forever. Soldiers described invisible clouds drifting across trenches, burning lungs and blinding eyes. The horror was so intense that nations began banning certain chemical weapons as early as the 17th century, after the use of poisoned projectiles shocked European armies. But research never really stopped. In the 1930s, German scientists accidentally discovered something far worse while developing pesticides, nerve agents, tabun, sarin, and later soman. These chemicals attacked the human nervous system directly, causing muscles to seize uncontrollably until breathing stopped. They were so lethal that even Nazi Germany, despite producing them, never used them in large-scale combat, partly out of fear of retaliation. Later, during the Cold War, even more persistent agents appeared, like VX, capable of contaminating entire areas for long periods. The problem with chemical weapons wasn't just their lethality, it was their unpredictability. Wind changes direction, weather shifts, gas spreads beyond intended targets. Once released, control disappears. That loss of control made chemical weapons one of the most feared tools ever created, leading to international treaties banning their production and use. Because once deployed, they don't distinguish between soldier and civilian, or friend and enemy.
The pattern history repeats. Across centuries, the pattern repeats itself. New weapons are created in fear. They promise decisive victory. But some inventions reveal something uncomfortable. Technology evolves faster than human control. From portable nuclear weapons to invisible nerve agents and enhanced blast explosives, history shows that the most dangerous weapons are often the ones that remove control from the people using them. And that's why some of the most powerful weapons ever built were never fully used. Not because they failed, but because humanity realized, sometimes too late, that winning at any cost might mean losing everything else. If this story surprised you, you're going to want to see what comes next. Because some of the strangest and most dangerous military ideas ever conceived were never meant to be public. And in the next episode, we'll explore real battlefield experiments that sound like fiction, but actually happened. Subscribe now if you enjoy deep historical stories like this. It helps the channel grow and allows us to keep bringing you rare and fascinating military history every week. And tell us in the comments, which weapon shocked you the most? History is full of stories like this. You just have to know where to look.